Oh, hi, Caitlin.
Hi, Donna, how are you?
Good. Hi, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning.
And Jean and Jared.
We somehow ended up starting 2 meetings, so I have to gather the rest of the folks, so just bear with us here for a second.
Okay.
There.
I figured this be our first time. I have a few technical difficulties till we figure it out. Jared, did you ever get your daughter back from Utah?
I did. The airport reopened and she came in Thursday night without a glitch. So
Oh,
thank
good.
goodness.
That's
Great.
good.
And yep, she's still working. They're actually doing spring term on a lot remotely now too. So she's probably going to enroll in spring term as well, which she wasn't going to do.
Okay.
So might as well make the best of it.
Yeah. This is true.
They had them sitting every other seat on the flight
No
as best
kidding.
they could. Yep.
They
So
probably
was-
still had it home.
Yeah, I mean, now's the time to fly if you want. Tickets are really cheap. I wouldn't recommend it, but if you feel like living on the edge.
Hey,
Yeah,
Caitlin,
basically.
can you hear
Yes.
me?
I can.
Okay. Are they no longer doing the compostable items at the transfer station?
As far as I know, we are still accepting food waste for composting. Jim, do you have any updates to that?
Yep, we're still taking it. We just take it out of your vehicle and dump it in and bring it back to you.
Okay.
I did speak with Impact Earth. They called yesterday and confirmed that they will still continue to pick it up, and we don't need to make any adjustments.
Hi.
Okay.
And they're
Thank you.
on half of them. I'm trying to bring them over. Hang on. Everybody else was on the other.
Yeah, the one you shared was only in the text. This is the one that we shared with the public.
Great. This is the, we're getting it over here.
Hey, Linda, how are you?
Hey,
Hi, Jim. How are
Linda.
you?
Morning.
Jim, are you a nervous Nelly? You're walking all over the place.
I'm tired of sitting on my ass. Okay, I mean, I just,
You're looking good.
I'm getting things done, or I'm getting the paperwork done that I kind of maybe should have done sooner, but yeah, I'll sit down. So quit making you guys sick.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay, we're getting more people.
Okay.
16 people in here now. 17.
Wait. We need, let's see, Terry and Eric were on that call. I'm
Yep,
sending
and,
them.
Kathy's not in here yet. Terry is.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Terry.
There's Terry.
Hey, Terry.
Hey.
Hey, Jean. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Your office looks different.
It does, doesn't it?
Morning, Terry.
Who's that?
Gary's here.
Well, Gary looks like a green circle with a phone in it.
Hi, Greg.
Our goal is to get Gary to get video next time.
Gotta get rid of the flip phone.
No, he got rid of that. He upgraded. He even texts now.
Oh, look at that face.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah, I got Terry. Oh, would you smile? You're very seriously looking at that phone right now, Doug.
I'm looking at the participants. Can everybody hang on a second? Let's just make sure we have the town board members. So Terry, you there?
Yep.
Gary?
Yes.
All right. Linda?
Here.
All right. And then Jared, I know I saw you.
Yes.
And then Kathy, if think you made it over, right?
I'm here.
Okay. Okay. I think we have everybody from the other call now, plus the whole board. So.
We have a few extra people too.
All right, Kathy, go ahead whenever you're ready. It's your show.
Okay. I'm sorry we got started late, but we're new to this here. Been different platforms, so trying to get used to each one. So welcome everyone to our web virtual meeting. In an effort to try to keep things as normal as possible, we'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, if you don't mind. So you all stand if you can. Thanks. I'm gonna try not to have, Doug was gonna try to get us a flag.
Yeah. Here, hang on a second. I lost it in the transition. Give me one quick second.
You can aim this at my flagpole.
All right, I got one. Ready?
All right. Oh, that's nice.
Ready? I pledge allegiance
To
the
To
flag
the flag
of the United States of America
America.
and to the republic
and to the republic
for
for
which
which
it
it
stands one nation,
one nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
Invisible.
liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. So I'm going to start the meeting, but I don't want to hear myself talk too much. I want to welcome everyone. It's been very busy. So I've been home here with my daughter going to school here. Things have been running smoothly. I've been amazed by how well she's been doing and all the kids doing. I've noticed in the last couple of days how even walking around the neighborhood, people are saying hello from afar and trying to keep social distancing. And I've seen an effort to change the term social distancing to physical distancing, social engagement, which I think is so important for all of us. This is a great way to do it too. The kids are all used to this. We're the ones trying to get used to it. And I'd like to thank everybody in the town hall, all the employees, which I've done many times, but it's important to let everybody know. Jim, your guys are doing a tremendous job. Doug's been doing an amazing job. Everyone, I would take about half an hour just to name everybody at town hall. So, but I think it's important that the town residents know that we're getting the job done. Pretty much every day I've had conferences with the county. The numbers are going up, but that's expected because more testing is being done. We're in an okay situation. They tell me that the hospital here is not at surge capacity, which means, the maximum number of people that they can have. So far we're okay. Obviously, there's still critical needs for PPEs, which is personal protective equipment. Yesterday we had a meeting. Jeff Harloff told us that they are out of gowns. So I think, maybe we're all definitely gonna have to think outside the box. I hate that term because it's overused, but really that's what we're gonna have to do. I'm personally making face masks, and I'm following the guidelines of medical professionals using MERV 13 filters now. There's also other ones out there. These are last resorts. Some of the face masks are going to be for people who are sick so that they don't make other people sick. So everyone's doing something. I know that, even if it's, just our town employee, not even just, but our town employees doing their part to keep everything running. I'm also told, so Terry, you talked about driving around the neighborhood. What I learned yesterday, interestingly, is that Ontario County has received an A rating, that the cell phone companies are able to track movement of people, which we all knew, general movement, and the people in Ontario County have reduced their travel by 40%. So that's amazing. If we could get that down even more. So I myself am having groceries delivered. In fact, I think I will probably be getting a text soon because they're shopping for me right now. So those things are all available. Yesterday, the town put out an amazing blast with a lot of information from a lot of people. So I hope our residents are taking advantage of that. I'm not sure who's on here. I see some phone numbers, but I'm going to assume we have some people from the town. If not, hopefully the next time we do that, we can get more people. So thank you to everyone. If you have any questions for me later, I'd be happy to answer whatever I can about what I know. I'm not going to give health advice, but I can give the same advice that everyone's been given. I can tell you that from when my hands are raw from washing them constantly, and I'm sure you're all the same. So at this point, I would like to recognize my other board members, and I'll just pick one. Linda, if you want to make a statement. You're in sunny Florida. I'm very jealous, but Dag, you're it.
Well, I feel like everybody has their part to play in this, and I feel like the town is doing a wonderful job. I want to thank everyone for doing it. Sad to be here and missing it and not being able to contribute in a more active way, but I'm very proud of our town.
Linda, you can tag the next person if you want.
Oh, I heard Terry.
Well, I think everybody's doing a great job. I drove through the transfer station yesterday afternoon just to see how it was functioning, and I know there were 8 or 9 guys there. Jim could speak to the number better, but everything was flowing smoothly, and people were, adhering to the stay in your car and let the employees take the trash out, and everything was flowing very smoothly there. Just from driving around, I've seen that too, that there is a reduction in traffic. We drive into town, just drive around the city for a while, come back home, and you could see that there's a lot less traffic on the road. And unfortunately for the business owners on Main Street, there are very few cars parked there, but it is what it is, and we just have to bear down and get through it. Over. Next one will be Jared. I see him there.
All right. I just want to ditto what everybody else said. Going through to the dump this last week, the hard work those guys are putting in, they were cranking it out there. They had a full crew helping out, and that's I think that's a sense of normalcy, even though it's a little different for all the residents. And then speaking from a different perspective, from the school side of things, I think as a community, people are kind of hunkering down to the new normal, adjusting to what this life is, going to be for the next weeks and, a month or two. And anybody who is interested, Jamie Farr, the school superintendent, will be doing a broadcast like this. You can call into it and listen tonight. I want to say it's at 7 o'clock. He's doing one for staff at 1 o'clock and tonight at 7. If anybody kind of from the school perspective and the impact on the community, I think it's a good chance for us to pull together. And I think people have done that. And I just want to thank everybody, all the staff, for all their hard work and keeping things rolling. I put solar on my house, and they got it done just before everything started closing down. And Dale was over yesterday, and he was saying they're still able to inspect, able to keep things going. So I know that's really appreciated by a lot of people, how things are just kind of plugging forward and plugging along, which is a great benefit to the town.
So
you're next, phone face.
This is Gary Davis. My picture's not up there, but so I announced it. Being last, basically dittos for me on what's happening also. But I would like to, again, thank the town staff under Doug's leadership for what they're accomplishing during these trying times. And walking around the neighborhood, and my wife goes out every day. I go out not every day, probably should, but we see the people, correspond or complying with the guidelines that have been initiated for social distancing and work for home requirements. Traveling to get some food from a couple takeout places. Like Terry said, things seem to be a lot slower, which they are. And I'd also like to, say that I appreciate the daily town updates received from Doug and the daily county updates from Cassie. They're very much appreciated. And I'd like to thank Jim and his staff, and Jean and her staff, and Doug and the majority of the staff, for all the work that they're doing during these troubling times. I wish everyone good health and be safe. Thank you.
So Kathy, it's Doug here, just chiming in real quick. So we have everybody muted right now just because of background noise and that sort of thing. Is there anything else the town board wants to discuss? And then I know we want to open it up for everybody to ask any questions and have a conversation.
I have nothing else.
Okay. So with that said, let's unmute everybody, and that way, and if you have muted yourself, you may have to unmute yourself to chime in here. But I guess at that point we can open it up for questions and see what folks want to ask or talk about. And then I know we have a few other things we want to touch base on.
Doug, are you going to open it up to department heads at all?
Yes.
Okay.
You want to start with department head? Well, you want to start with residents or department heads? It's up to you, whichever way. Or anybody. We've got an assortment of folks on the call. Just so I'm looking at the participant list. That's why I'm like staring at my phone here, just so everybody knows. So obviously we know we have the town board members. We've got Jean Chrisman, the town clerk. Jean, is there anything you want to ask or share or touch base on?
Yes, I am getting emails, occasional emails about transfer station tags and needing to renew dog licenses for the end of the month. And I sent out put something on the Facebook page yesterday about, unfortunately at this time, there has not been an extension for people to pay their town and county tax bill. So they are still due by 4 o'clock on Tuesday, the 31st. People can pay by credit card. They can online. They can send in their payment via U.S. mail, Federal Express, whatever. But I am asking them to please do what they can to make sure that the envelope is postmarked by the 31st, because if it's not postmarked and I receive it after the 31st, unfortunately, I have to send it back to them, and then it's forwarded on to the county for further processing and collection there. So I am going to be in the office tomorrow afternoon, probably between 2 and 3 o'clock. So if anybody wants to stop in, I do have a couple of people that are already stopping in. That's fine. And then most likely on Tuesday, because it's final tax day, I will be there. So, but if people have any questions, please do send me an email. That's the best way to get in touch with me. I've been checking that day and night to respond back to people as quickly as I can.
Perfect. All right, thanks, Jean. Let's go to Jim Fletcher. Jim, any updates or?
We're going to be opening the bids tomorrow still at 3 o'clock for the water project. Jean's going to accept them. We're going to do a conference call when we open the bids to the contractors that bid it. We have 5 GCs, 4 ECs, which is electrical contractor, and 3 MCs from mechanical contractor that have put in bids for this. This will at least let us know whether we are good to move forward in April or if we have to rethink about what the cost is for the next board meeting. There hasn't been very many questions about the project. Things have been pretty straightforward with MRB on their information. We are continuing to do we got the water billing done. Caitlin has been working with QuickPrint. So we got the readings done, and Caitlin got the information to QuickPrint through an email, and they are going to be working on getting them printed and stuffed and mailed by April 1st. As a reminder, we did do a extension on the penalty. Instead of after 30 days, we're going to do 60 days. And I've been keeping the water operators separate to be checking the pump stations each day, take a chlorine test, samples, and installing water meters and turning water on because residents are starting to come back to their properties. Since the things are kind of slow, people are coming back a little bit earlier to have their water turned on. The transfer station, we moved the bin down farther away from the trash to allow people to unload it themselves so it could be a little bit smoother process instead of holding people up. We do have mulch out there for people to grab by the brush pile. So some people have been taking advantage of that. And I did talk to a few other towns about the transfer station. All but one is handling the trash for their residents. They want to keep that separation. They have not necessarily changed their hours, but they did one of them did make a longer day on Wednesday just because people are home, not doing a lot, that maybe would help on the weekends. I know we had a little discussion through a text message, myself and Doug and Terry, just having that notion, but I don't know if it'll help or not. We could try it and see what happens to help with our load on the weekends. It seems like a lot of people are cleaning their houses out. This past weekend, we had a lot of trash, which was a lot of work for the 8 guys out there trying to unload it. I'm hoping it gets a little bit lighter because everybody stops finding stuff to throw away. I did find some sanitizing stuff for the equipment through a commercial chemical maker out of Syracuse because I was getting pretty low. I could get that Monday to keep things clean on the equipment for when they're getting in and out of it.
Hey, Jim, I know that we need to have a conversation about transfer station employees and highway guys, but maybe let's give everybody else a chance to weigh in and we'll come back to that before we finish up.
Okay, Doug.
Can I pipe in for 1 second?
Sure.
I just want to add that our phones are being forwarded to a cell phone, so residents can still reach our department on the phone. So if anybody's looking to get a hold of somebody, you can certainly forward them to my extension.
Wait. It's not, the town hall number is not being forwarded, is it? What number is being forwarded?
No, the 394-3300, as well as my
The specific highway number is being forwarded.
Yeah, it's the number for the water department, the highway department, and the transfer station.
Yeah, okay. Okay. I know Chris Lyon, who is our assessor, and Pam Post, who is going to be our assessor here in another couple of days, are both on the line. And I guess, Chris, this is your last meeting with the town board virtually. Anything you want to weigh in on?
Yes, I'm just want to, not the way I've envisioned the transfer taking place, but it is what it is. So I have been working with Pam and checking my email and everything else and answering any questions that we do have.
And then Pam, I think Pam's on the line there. Pam? You may have to unmute yourself, Pam. I wasn't able to unmute you. So maybe we lost Pam. I don't know. She was there. Pam and I have been texting back and forth, town board members. You saw that communication too. And I had also asked her, I mean, it's too soon to say what's exactly happening with the real estate market, but it's something that we're going to need to be paying attention to. Pam, are you there? No. Okay. All right. Eric is joining us. I think he was chatting with us earlier. Eric, anything from the development office?
Well, our role a lot of times relies on meetings, so it's been a bit of a change. And much like the town board with Zoom here, we're trying to get the planning board and zoning board worked up. Their Zoom meetings, we've had to adjust the process a little bit for them and got to hold some kind of practice meetings with them to get them comfortable with it. So we didn't want, or we really have been trying to avoid kind of a complete shutdown of the office as everybody else has. We don't want these projects to stall and whatnot. So we're going to keep moving forward with public hearings through Zoom. That's really the big change. A lot of the permit applications have really kind of dropped off. There's a lot less coming into the office. Phone calls are forwarded to my extension and I'll answer them from here. But that's really it. Just trying to keep everything going and moving without the meetings that we're accustomed to.
Just so everybody's aware too, I have had conversations with Scott Morrell had called me. And as Jared was alluding to, code enforcement's continuing with inspections. And I know Scott's trying to keep their stuff going as much as possible and even gave us a schedule that he sent me that I'm gonna forward out to you guys by email here in a little bit. But they're trying to keep some things moving forward anyway. And Chris and Dale have been responding directly from their homes. I think, Chris Jensen, I think might be on the line here with us.
Yeah.
Chris, anything that you're seeing out and about while you're out doing this?
I mean, Happiness House is probably still operating at about 50% of their employees, keeping the building going. The 2 car washes are moving forward, pretty straightforward. Dale and I are kind of avoiding going inside single-family homes for inspections, but the thing is they're not even calling for inspections right now. So mostly it's the new homes, Morels, those sort of things. And things are going pretty smoothly, no hiccups. I stop at the office for like 2 seconds a day, pick up some paperwork. Michelle scanned the applications in and send them to me. I'm reviewing some stuff. I mean, probably about 50% of my day is busy.
Gotcha. Just a different pace.
Yeah.
Just different pace. And then Chris, I mean, is there anything we need to be worrying about in terms of like MS4 inspections or any of that stuff right now? Or are we in pretty good shape right now with that?
Oh, actually, it's kind of nice because I can get out and do the MS4 inspections and do the pond inspections, the outfalls, because that's kind of how I'm filling the rest of my time during the day.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Very good.
So I guess maybe, Doug, this might be a good time to talk about, does anyone else want to be heard from? I'm sorry.
Well, we've got, in terms of departments, let's just finish up with, I don't think we have anybody from the court on the line. The one person I think we need to just, like Sarah, I mean, you have been doing a phenomenal job with all the communication, everything. I think you muted yourself. I can't unmute you. I was trying to unmute you.
I did. I might have some background noise. I have a fort behind me and a small person inside of it who's making a little bit of noise, so I kept myself muted. But yeah, I don't know how many people we're reaching other than what Facebook tells me, and it seems like our messages are getting across. I know we maybe just have a few residents on here, but you know, maybe we can schedule ahead of time and, you know, just share it over and over again to get more people. And I think for a first meeting, you know, we have a couple glitches, but I think this is working pretty well.
Yeah, it seems like it. And thank you for all of the communication. I mean, Sarah and I, and Sarah, Sam, and Kate, the 3 of us are texting back and forth sometimes 20, 30, 50 times an hour.
Yeah.
But thank you. And I know Kate is on the line and Sam is also on the line. And Kate has been continuing to work on our finances and with the auditors. And I know we've got that pesky AUD we've got to get to here still by April 1st, Kate. I had a conversation yesterday with Assemblyman Brian Kolb had called me, and we had discussed about whether or not there was going to be a delay in terms of the comptroller's office in delaying that. And what he told me is that the comptroller and the governor aren't necessarily on the same page with that, with everything that's going on. And so we thought that for right now, you know, the deadline is probably going to stand at April 1st on that AUD. And we had heard stuff from the county, something very similar. So Kate, I don't know if there's anything you want to jump in and share with the board and everybody.
I think we're really close as far as, can you hear me?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right. I think we're close as far as the AUD. I don't think it's going to take us a ton of time. We just have to schedule some time to really focus on that. But I think we'll be able to accomplish that. And then, you know, the challenge for me is just a lot of things are physical in the office, checks and that kind of thing. So I was able to coordinate with everybody. Jean, thank you so much for helping coordinate to get in, and I was able to cut a check for Jim and, you know, kind of move things along. I anticipate going in again next week and running another check run, but I was able to scan everything in, and so I can get everything entered, and that really limits the time I have to be at the office to physically print and mail out checks. But it's just, I really appreciate all the communication. Everybody's been really great at staying in touch and staying on the same page so that we can keep moving everything along.
Thanks. And then Sam, I know you were driving, but still, I don't know if there's anything you want to share. I think she's actually headed into the town hall actually at the moment. So she might not be able to chat right at the moment, but I know she's listening in on the call and continuing to work on all of the human resource related things, obviously payroll, all that stuff. She's still processing that, and we're still trying to figure out about parks and how that all goes forward. So, Kathy, flip things back over to you. I think I've covered all of our departments. If you want to hear from residents, I know we do have a couple of residents on the phone.
Yes, please, if any residents have any questions, please feel free.
This is Greg Westbrook. How is everybody?
Hanging in there. How are you?
Right.
Good, good. So I just want to hats off to Kathy, to your leadership, to Doug's leadership, to Jim's leadership, to Jean's leadership across the board. It's an interesting thing to watch from afar now. And it's just a phenomenal job by everybody. That includes the employees, every employee in the town of Canandaigua. Hats off to all those folks too. And I just want to remind people that I don't know, we can tell. I heard a great line from the Dr. Tony Fossey yesterday afternoon or evening. He said that a lot of reporters were asking a lot of questions about what's the schedule to open back up again. And he said, rightfully so, the virus has no schedule, so people shouldn't think about this thing in short stroke of what you're hearing, because nobody knows the answer to that question. And so as we think about the next 3 months, it may be greater than that, maybe less than that. But as you start to think about communication, and it's never more important than it is right now to our residents, including myself. And so I'm just ask you to do the great job you are already doing, continue that great job. And I think every citizen of Canandaigua will be very well served. So hats off to everybody. If I had a beer, I'd hold it up for you. So.
I could use one. Hey, Greg, what are you hearing? Anything that else is needed from us?
Yeah, it's interesting. I have this old groups club I hang out in now, okay? And it's a group of people that gather at Casa for morning coffee. And the average age, I am out of the curve, but there are a number of 80-year-olds there. They're still active. There's a gentleman named Putt Moore, who I think most of us know. There's a couple other crazier guys than Putt. And the reaction until they broke up our little coffee club is that the virus broke up our little coffee club. They were surprised at the reaction of government. I'm telling you across the board that they are very impressed with what the state level activities are. It's a huge job these folks are taking on at the state level, impressed at the county level, and actually very impressed at the town level. Putt Moore said to me, it's not a big deal to anybody else, but as people know, he has a medical condition, and when he can't get out of his truck, and he likes that. He wants Jim to keep that policy forever, just so you know, Jim. Okay? Okay. But it's all very positive. It's all very engaging and very positive. And the other message I want to tell you is that people I know of calling Kathy. I know people that can be available and they weren't available before, whether they're working a full-time job or they're in a transition to a new kind of job. The people want to help. So whatever we can do to help, we're here to help, and we'll just leave it there.
Thank you. Anyone else out there?
Hi, Kathy. It's Oksana.
Hi, Oksana.
I just want to echo what everyone else has been saying about the great jobs you are doing, of every one of you. So thank you so much.
And Oksana, have you heard anything about things that people need or something else you think that we can do to help?
Not really. We have been marooned here at the house, and Lynn is working on his RIT classes, and we just go out to feed our cats on Dual Road. And that's about it.
Thank you very much. Anyone else like to be heard?
Kathy, I think we also have Chris Nadler on the phone. I don't know. Chris, can you at least say hi to us?
He's muted. He's going to have to unmute himself.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Chris.
Chris?
I just want to say from a legal perspective, I think the town is doing exactly what it should. I think we're ahead of most of the other towns in the area in terms of trying get the planning and zoning board back into video chat meetings. I think the town board doing this meeting is just fantastic. And I think it complies with the letter and the intent of the governor's executive order related to public officers law. So I think everybody's doing a great job, and hope everyone's staying happy and safe and healthy.
Thanks, Chris. Okay, I think that's it, unless I see anybody else there.
I don't, there's a couple of phone numbers I don't recognize. I don't know if anybody has any questions or wants to ask anything. I just don't know who
So if
they
anybody
are.
has phone numbers and want to be recognized, which of course you don't have to, if you can, I think you can change your name if you want to. Otherwise, that's fine. Or just so we can call you by name if you like.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
This is Chris.
Yep.
So we're doing the town of Bristol as well as far as other stuff. They were wondering what the legal ramifications are doing the online Zoom meetings for planning and zoning and stuff, whether if town residents don't have the internet or something like that, does it preclude them to be able to hold a Zoom meeting, or can they do a Zoom meeting for their meetings?
Chris, I'll forward the governor's executive order over to Bob Green, and he just sent me a text message literally like about a second ago asking the same thing. But we can help them out with that.
Yeah, most people have phone access too, so.
Right, yeah, because you can actually call into it, so they can still hold a public meeting.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep. Kathy, I don't know if there's any other questions, but I know that we do have a couple other things we just need to chat about.
Yep, which I started to step ahead of the game before. So, yeah, I think going along with what Eric was saying was what I was starting to say is we have to start to think about all of our meetings being held remotely and the capabilities to do so. So this is a good dry run. I think as we get used to it, people get used to being muted. Otherwise, you have background noise and people's dogs might be in the background, Eric. Mine too. But I think that it's definitely doable, and it's something we have to think about going forward. As Greg was saying, we don't know how long this is going to last, and we have to be ready to go with web meetings and call-ins. So if anyone has thoughts on that, or our department heads and committee members and things like that. Or is everybody comfortable with setting up a schedule going forward on this?
We're talking about dogs, and I'm watching our dogs run around the backyard. They got loose. So anyway.
I think that one of the things that came up in what Greg was saying about handicapped people at the transfer station, it made me think that maybe we should have a handicap lane even when we go back to normal. You know, where we would assist people. I don't know what you think about that, Jim, but it occurred to me when there's people who can't get out of their car and they have the appropriate sticker. I mean, it wouldn't just be every person who wants, yeah, your guys have to work at their trash. But I felt like a handicap lane might be a good option.
Could be. We'll have to educate those who have a sticker to be in the lane closest to the transfer station, but something we, myself and Terry, can discuss in public work.
Yeah, that's what I do now. I pull into the lane that's, closest to the transfer station, and sometimes, there's quite a few people in that lane. You just wait, but I do it just to minimize the hauling, back and forth from my truck. But I would think that could be accommodated somehow.
So Chris, do you think that we need to take a vote? I mean, I know a lot of the open meeting laws are suspended, but do you think we should take a vote on scheduling all the upcoming meetings for online capabilities as a board? Chris Nadler, this is for.
I think that would be a good idea. I think it's a motion and a second, and then have a vote. I think that's a great idea.
Do you think we should do it for a particular period of time, or as long as the governor's order is in place, suspending the traditional open meeting laws. What would you suggest on that?
I would suggest exactly what you just proposed. For the duration of New York State Executive Order 202.1.
202.1. All right, so I'm going to try to do this. Chris, jump in if I forget anything. So I would like to make a motion to allow the town of Canandaigua to schedule upcoming meetings of all of the town boards, committees for the future going forward, as long as the governor's executive order 202.1 is in effect.
Second?
Okay, any discussion on that?
Kathy, if I could just, Kathy, if I
Yep,
could
of course.
for clarification. So that motion includes all boards and all committees of the town of Canandaigua, right?
Correct. I think that's what I said,
Okay.
but if I didn't, that's
Okay,
what I meant.
I just wanted to clarify. Yep.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I think we also, we're going to talk about our transfer station employees and their request for overtime or hazard pay for working outside the normal scheduled 40-hour work week. Or have them return to work doing items that can be done on an individual basis. Tim, I think we're seeing your nose up close.
I don't know what I hit. Right now it's on here. I don't know how to get back to. I don't know how to get back to a speakerphone. I don't want to hang up on you guys. So I'm doing this. I apologize.
I think you can
I don't know
stop
what I
your video.
did.
It's amusing though. Thank you.
Hey,
There you
Sarah,
go.
can you stop
We're
it?
back.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I mean, I know you can see me. I just can't really hear you all that well.
Oh boy. Okay.
Earlier this week, we discussed
There you
the current 18 highway employees, which include the 3 water employees. We were going to keep everybody home out and keep them safe. And if they were to come in and work the transfer station, we would provide them hazard pay or we pay them overtime for doing the transfer station. I asked Doug yesterday about, well, Todd is here working his 40 hours, but he's not receiving any hazard pay towards his time. And I have others that don't want to work at the transfer station, and it seems to be causing, I don't want to say anybody's getting upset, but I want to call it like everybody wants to be treated equal and receive equal pay for what they're doing for work. So Doug and I had a little bit of a conversation of multiple things, and what I'm looking for from the town is, do we continue as we are right now if you work at the transfer station to receive, we'll call it hazard pay, and to provide Todd some hazard pay for his time also. And the other thing I want to talk about is this past week at Cornell Local Road, they've been putting out videos of what our highway guys could be doing solo out on the roads without having to be less than 6 feet from each other, bringing back not everybody, but so many one day and so many another day to get these guys back to work, to do work around the town, because I have potholes, snowplow damage, ditching, mailbox repair, and signs that could be repaired. That's what I want to talk about with everybody. So let's first talk about our current position with our employees this week was highway employees received 40 hours of pay, and if they came and worked at the transfer station, they would receive overtime for doing it as a hazard pay. Do we want to continue doing that, or do we want to, I believe it's in the union agreement, I just can't find it, reschedule them to work their 40 hours as part of the transfer station? That's the first question I have for everybody.
I thought, as the finance person and knowing what Doug has shared with us relative to the possible impact of sales tax on our town budget, is that we really need to make sure that we're using our resources in the best way possible. So if there's work that they could do safely, I felt like when I read the essential worker list, people who were essential were people who were fixing things. So your pothole idea and all of that seems to make sense. I would go under the way of trying to get work done while we're paying people, because we're not going to have budget later if we don't.
I would agree with
Indeed.
that. I think,
Sorry.
I would agree with that, that if there are things that can be done safely, that is that 6-foot distance between employees, if you got a guy in a truck, somebody else on an excavator, and another guy flagging, you know, they're not close. They're not in close proximity to one another. Seems to me work like that could be being done. As far as the transfer station goes, right now, that is the physical face of the town of Canandaigua. That's where many of our residents actually see somebody that you know, is working for the town, and you know, very, very thankful for that, for the guys that have, you know, pitched in to do it. Giving them an extra bump to incentivize them to come in, I'm okay with that. I do think that in Todd's case, I mean, Todd is probably the only guy that's working a full shift, and maybe for at least those times when we have the transfer station open and we have other employees working there, if we're going to give them, you know, overtime pay for those hours they work, I think we should consider doing the same thing for Todd.
I think the benefit, I agreeing with what Linda said, getting them out, and Terry, getting them out as much as we can, doing things, because there's a lot that can be done. But we also need to be careful with what we're spending now, because who knows what the next 6 months or year is going to bring. I mean, we've got to think worst case scenario right now. I think that we're going to be looking at the bad end of those projections and plan accordingly. And if it's better, you know, hooray for us. But if it is what we think it could be, then we need to be prepared. So we need to be frugal with what we have.
Yeah. If there's work that we can get done now safely, I think we should bring the guys back in to do that work. Because if we don't, and that work does have to get done at some point, would we find ourselves in a position of having to pay overtime to get those jobs done in addition to whatever else would be done in the normal course of the day? So I would vote, it's too late this week, but maybe next Monday, Jim, you know better than the rest of us what can be done and what can be done safely. If you can line up the work to get the guys back in, and I have heard from a few of them that they'd really like to work rather than sitting around at home. I think we should consider doing that starting next week. What is the county doing anyway? You know,
Yep.
as a
I was just going to say, I know the county is continuing to have them work, and I think there is an overtime pay for the essential workers and or extra vacation. I don't recall offhand. I think they were getting extra vacation days. My train of thought. I know that Buildings and Grounds is helping public health. They're doing, when someone's quarantined, they have to check on them every day to make sure they're home, and Buildings and Grounds is individually helping with that, so that keeps them at a distance. But I do think they're continuing to do whatever they can that they can still keep a safe distance. Yes, they are essential employees.
Can I chime in here on that question? This is
Go ahead,
Gary.
Gary. Yep, go ahead.
Yes, I believe that also, you know, the transfer stations, people should, you know, get the extra money that during this time, as long as it's not going to be long extended, because I think we all probably saw that the unemployment for last week was over 3 million people, and, you know, we're going to be facing this for a long period of time, so we certainly want to be very careful of, you know, but we also want to be, you know, perspective of the people that do work at the transfer station.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. They're the ones that are out there, you know, as you know, they're the front line for us. So Jim, I would say you tell us what you think you need. And of course, whatever we decide today, we're going, this is a fluid situation, changes day by day. So it's not written in stone. Whatever you need to keep things going, you let us know. So obviously we don't want anyone to take advantage of the situation either, but you know better than us. And I've only heard great things from everyone who's been to the transfer station. At some point, maybe, you know, yeah.
Jim and town board members, if I could just jump in here. So Jim and I talked a little bit yesterday, and let me just jump in just for a quick second. So I think we can definitely do that and have those guys return. We need to make sure that we have safety precautions in place. And as Terry said, you know, keeping the distance, and, you know, maybe they each drive their own truck to the job site, that sort of thing, or one of the town trucks, I mean, not their personal vehicle, but anyway. And maybe we still, I think, Jim, you and I talked about maybe even splitting it up a little bit, or
everyone
whatever.
except the speaker.
Yeah, Sarah, you have that ability now, not me. Can you mute everybody except for the town board? And so the other thing is that we need to be thinking about from a finance perspective is, you know, Jim and I were talking about this, you know, potholes, and as Terry was saying, those type of projects that are essential, right? We know we're going to fill potholes. We know we're going to do some of those basic things. So yes, we could be doing that kind of stuff. But I think from a financial perspective, as Linda was also alluding to, we need to be thinking about, and Jim and Terry and I talked a little bit about this, and I also had a conversation with Peter Inglesby about this. You know, we might not be able to do Canandaigua Farmington Town Line Road this year, even though that was budgeted. We need to start thinking about these longer term projections now in terms of what that may look like if we only get 50% of the sales tax revenue. I can tell you, I had a conversation last Friday with Jack Marin, and he had a conversation with the mall. There's, I think, 2 stores open in the entire mall. I mean, sales tax is going to take a tremendous hit. The comptroller put out something about a 12% reduction, but even in our managers group, you know, everybody's telling me plan for at least a 25% reduction, if not closer to that 50%. So we need to really be thinking about what this is going to look like. And there's no car sales. There's literally no car sales. That's a big chunk of sales tax dollars. So we just need to be thinking about the long-term impact of that.
Yeah, we do the things that we have to do. I mean, that is a project that could be delayed. I mean, nobody's going to be harmed by it if we delay it.
So what do you need from us right now as a town board? Jim, if you're with us, or Doug, if you know.
I heard what everybody had to say. I think after talking to our townships this week, I'm going to come up with a schedule, but I'm also going to put in there, like, part of the schedule is maybe not every time you help the transfer station to get overtime, unless I hear something different, but we'll put it as part of your hours. But then other times, well, you're going to help us and we're going to help you type thing. You follow what I'm saying? Like, does everybody get overtime, or can I would like to schedule some of them as their hours to work the transfer station, and other hours they could get overtime for it. Kind of like split it up a little bit.
Yeah, that makes more sense, because if we pay overtime all the time for it, and we need to find work for them for 40 hours, or else they are on unemployment, essentially. You know,
Right.
a lot of people without jobs right now, but we won't have money later in the year for anything.
Right. So I'm thinking that I think that would help me get everybody on board, saying we're going to work together as a town to get this, keep everybody busy. You're going to get a little extra here and there once in a while, and we'll continue going the way we are right now, unless something changes again next week, which we all know can actually happen. So.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds good to me.
And what I think I'll get a schedule together, and Doug and Terry can talk about before we talk to the town board, tell them what I think we should do. And then we'll tell you guys. Does that sound like a plan?
Sounds like a plan.
Okay.
Sounds good, Jim.
Okay. All right. What's
All right.
next?
You tell us. Is there anything else that you need from us, Jim?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Doug, do you recall anything because you and I talk a lot, was there anything else we wanted to discuss?
No, I think that was, I think those were the main things. I don't.
Okay.
Kathy, I don't know if just before we end, if you want to open it up in case anybody has any questions or comments again, but
Yep.
Sarah, you may have to unmute again, everybody again for that.
If you can't unmute everybody, people can individually unmute themselves too. So is there anyone here who would like to ask a question or make a comment? Please feel free to do so. Okay.
Kathy, what about all the committees?
So yeah, I mean, I don't know if you heard, we're going to try to set up meetings
Yes.
by virtual meetings or distance meetings, whatever you want to call it. So I would say get in touch with the town, maybe Doug, or whoever's going to coordinate that to set schedules so we can get out communications on those. Maybe, I don't know, Sarah, is that something? I don't want to speak for anybody, but someone will take care of it. You reach out to us and we'll make sure it gets done.
Yeah, Kathy, we'll coordinate that, and we just need to coordinate it so that obviously meetings aren't necessarily happening at the same time, but we're gonna work on that.
Right. Okay, I mean, I guess we could go to back to our regular schedule at some point once we get caught up. So, anyone else?
Kathy,
Yes.
during the meeting, I see we had a couple of more people join in, some of the residents, I believe, some of these names and stuff I don't recognize. I don't know if anybody has anything they'd like to ask, or maybe if they have.
The only other name I see is Lori. I don't know. Hi, Lori. I don't know if you had any questions. You're muted though, so you'd have to unmute.
Hi, Kathy. No, we're just kind of trying to keep track of what's going on with the planning board and what's happening on Thomas. But I think that if I'm reading the notifications correctly, that's not going to happen till April 7th.
Right. So we'll keep everyone apprised of what's going on, and you'll get, communications through the normal course. And always, feel free to reach out to us if you don't see anything. And how did you find out about today's meeting so we can make sure that other people know to join?
I actually happened to catch it on Facebook. I'm with the group for the town of Canandaigua for Facebook.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. And you guys, this is really kind of a great method. I'm really happy to see this. I'm not always going to be able to punch in because of my work schedule, but it's kind of nice to have that option.
Yep. Maybe we'll have to do it at different times too, so more people can join. Even though a lot of people are home, they might be helping with homeschooling and doing their jobs from home too. So, yep. All right. Anyone else? Doug, you have any parting words?
No, just thank you, everybody, for doing this and being so flexible with everything. And as I've been sharing with you by text message, I think the economic impact is certainly going to be quite a concern from all this. And Oksana and I were texting earlier about trying to set up our economic development committee group. It'd be interesting to hear all their different perspectives because they come from the auto industry, they come from real estate, they come from healthcare and all those things. And of course, healthcare might be a little too busy to join us, but there's going to be downturn ripple effects through all of this. And so, I don't think that we're going to have the revenue coming in for the budget that we projected. And I'm trying to, as best we can, and work with Pam going forward. And again, thank Chris for his service to the town. But we're going to have to watch to see what the long-term implications are, even to home values and our assessed values, and kind of what happens going forward. So there's a lot happening that's because of this situation that's going to have, I think, an impact for not only the rest of this year, but it's also going to make the 2021, probably 2022 and 2023 budget look a little different than what they had in the past.
Yeah, and I know because you get the emails. LDC's trying to get some stimulus going for the economy too. So we're going to try to meet and get that moving too. But of course, there's a lot of unknowns still, and we'll try to do the best we can with whatever's available. And there's so much information every day. I get 1,000 emails So we just got to keep on top of that and make sure that whatever opportunities are available, we let people know. It's changing all the time. So thank you also, everyone.
I'd just like
see you
to
all.
throw a couple of things in here. First of all, I want to thank Chris Lyon for all the great work he's done with the town. Probably won't see you before you
Ditto.
leave the town next week. And hope you're very successful and at your next assignment. And good luck to you, buddy. The other thing is, Doug, you had sent something out earlier this morning about, excuse me, Canandaigua Chrysler, that closing, shutting down this week, which was really kind of shocking. I know Scott has been, very, very ill. Last time I saw Jeannie, I think was last fall, and she said he was holding his own at that point in time. Do you have any idea how he's doing right now, or?
And Gene Chrisman, I don't know if you have any additional information or not, but I know from a conversation that I had with Randy Farnsworth, it didn't sound good, unfortunately.
No. That's too bad. Jeez.
Well, yeah, our prayers
Been
go
through a
out
lot.
to them, yeah. And again, anything that we can do for them and anyone else, we're gonna look whatever and do what we can, especially the businesses in our town. I wish I could buy a car. I saw a deal from Farnsworth, 0% financing for, I don't know, like 8 years. So I'll see what I can do. It's a great deal, but yeah. So obviously, everyone out there, keep doing what you can to help our businesses. I've been doing takeout as much as possible, and did it for St. Patrick's Day. Got my corned beef and cabbage. Terry, you had
Great.
from Eddie O'Brien's. And thank you, everyone. I think we're ready to sign off, and this went very well. Thank you, everyone.
Motion to adjourn.
Yep. Second. All in favor?
Third. Aye.
Aye. All right. See you later, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Aye.